On this episode of the Oklahoma Breakdown with Ikard and Lehman, presented by Riverwind Casino, OU linebacker Danny Stutsman joins us. Then we recap a wild week 6 in college football. That just goes into winners and losers. It's all about the crazy weekend in college football after Stutzman. Please download and subscribe to the podcast, rate it 5 stars, and write us a good review. Follow the show on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Just search Oklahoma Breakdown on any of those, and you'll find us. All right. Our man Michael Hosty will kick this thing off. It's time for the Oklahoma Break. It's a beautiful Sunday, October 6th, and you're listening to the Oklahoma Breakdown with Hacker and Lehman, presented by River Wind Casino. Riverwind is Oklahoma City's premier casino experience, and there are so many reasons why Riverwind is consistently voted OKC's #1 casino, but it all starts with their amazing variety of gaming thrills and excitement. Riverwind's beautiful award-winning environment plays host to more than 2,800 of the latest electronic games with a huge selection of table games, including blackjack match roulette, and Teddy's favorite, craps. No matter what your game, Riverwind has it in spades and hearts. And to learn more about their gaming promotions and entertainment options in the month of October, all you got to do is visit riverwind.com. Riverwind Casino, simply the best. What a fantastic weekend to have a bye week.
Crazy. Crazy. That was the best day of sitting around watching football I can remember. There was something crazy pretty much in every time slot.
Son had a soccer doubleheader,
Ooh,
2 different locations. Didn't stop me. I saw all the chaos.
nice.
Just a fantastic. I hope you guys all enjoyed your bye week. But now, Ted, we enter. It's basically a holiday. OU Texas week is one of my favorite weeks of the entire year. And would you look at that? The Texas Longhorns are ranked #1 in the country.
Mm, mm, mm. Beautiful. That's what you want.
Let's talk to Danny Stutsman. He's he's the leader of the football team. See what he's got to say about the bye week and what the Sooners have coming up on Saturday against Texas. All right, here's Stutsman. It is our pleasure to be joined by the leader of the 2024 Oklahoma Sooners. Danny Stutsman is in the house. What's going on, big guy?
Hey guys, great to be back on. It's always a pleasure to join this great show, man. Thanks for
The
having me.
the best part about it is you're giving we've got a lot of people that watch on YouTube now. You're giving yourself the most flattering angle from your phone. Come on, Stutzman, you've done enough media now. Like get you're going with like the chin up look.
Dude, I want to make it really personable and let people know like they're on FaceTime with me and just it gives like a more of an at-home feel.
There you go. I love it. All right, let's start with, hey, what'd you do for the bye weekend? It was a crazy weekend in college football, man.
Absolutely. I mean, obviously, we had a good week of practice, get ready for Texas. But Coach V gave us obviously the weekend off and utilized that time. I went to Dallas for a few days, met up with some old teammates, and then kind of hung out with them, watched some games. Insane upsets, man. That was what a week, what a weekend. But good to kind of get away from it, take a step back and kind of get your mind right for this week that we have coming up.
You mentioned the bye week. You guys had a good week of practice. Uh, you guys have been banged up, right? The offense specifically and defense been out there a lot. Did you guys get a chance? I know you got some good work in, but you get a chance to get everyone rested up a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, you got to have a good mix of it. You want to get better. You want to, you kind of utilize that week to prepare, but at the same time, you have guys that are hurt, so you got to get healthy. So you got to find a good balance, good, happy medium, and which we definitely did. We had about one practice that was, kind of your full speed going at it, which what you need, some good on good work, really help the guys out. But then, you got to, kind of doing a little lighter stuff on the legs and really just, kind of prepare mentally. But we had a great week, really excited for what the offense and defense are, our game plans. I think we have everything that we need to prepare us for this week.
Looking at the defense, you guys played 5 football games now. What do you think you guys are doing as a group really well defensively up to this point in the season?
I mean, everyone's really just doing their 111th. I think everyone has an assignment, has a job, and I think we really come together well. Everyone has trust that the other teammate's going to do their job, and especially as a defense, kind of just building that wall, and that's kind of what it's been referred to as in the past, through Coach V, and that's what we've kind of are really doing on a consistent basis now. I think look at last week. There were some times where early on first down we weren't really doing that well, and it puts us, it's hard to play defense when it's 2nd and 5. It's challenging, but obviously we put some stuff on tape that we need to clean up, and I think we've used this week to kind of do that and prepare for and fix those mistakes.
Is there any one thing maybe that sticks out above everything else that you guys really have to improve on to get where you need to go by the end of the season?
Defensively, I think we need to clean up just some tackling. Just kind of get better on that, increase our physicality. Obviously, you want to be the most physical team. It's hard on your body, but you need to keep, bring that intensity, bring that mindset every single time, every single day at practice. And then really, when it comes to tackling, it's just a mindset out there. And so, you have some plays, myself included, where you just have to get better and improve upon. And, every single day, you got to work on it.
You mentioned you think that you have things to improve upon individually. Like, what's your assessment of how you've played through
Mm.
5 games? Just being around you as long as we have, you're very critical of yourself, from what I can tell. So, what's kind of your evaluation of how you've played personally up to this point?
Yeah, I think obviously start off really strong. I think, but with this defense, I think with everyone doing your job, sometimes you're not gonna be able to make every single play. When other guys, especially with that the D line just playing phenomenal. It's a little challenging when they're making every single play in the backfield. So it's a little bit more difficult, but obviously, like you said, I'm very critical on myself. I'm not really trying to be too so focused on kind of my stats, to everything going on and kind of just leading the defense, one day at a time and one play at a time.
I always tell everyone the better the defense plays, the worse everyone's stats get because it all gets spread out to everyone. So, like, just saying that, like, what are some of the guys that have really grown up that you've seen this year? Because you're getting great play. You mentioned the D line, but all three levels are playing good. Who are some of the guys that have stuck out?
Oh man, I can go on and on. Obviously, R. Mason Thomas is a dude that, since the moment he got on campus with a guy, I remember him being 17 years old, fall camp, making plays as soon as he got on campus and being like, wow, this guy is a ball player. And now that he's kind of, matured, gotten healthy, and now everyone's kind of the whole world's seeing it. And so that's a guy that's really been huge for us. Obviously, you look at Kip and Kobe, who are guys that, I've seen grow up and mature in age and now are able to be on the field consistently and make plays for us is huge. I mean, that entire defensive line. I think when kind of the rotation they have with Dom and Jaden, and then DT, you just keep going on and on. Grayson Halton, that entire defensive, the interior D lineman, it's awesome, man. They're able to do so much. We can do so many different fronts with all the guys. We kind of have we're a lot more versatile, I think, in that room, and it's I mean it's everything, as especially as as a linebacker, having a good defensive line really helps you out.
What has it been like for you coming off the field for some series? That's not, you look at in the past, you're a guy that's been kind of an every down guy with where this team was depth wise the last couple of
Mhm.
years, and now got a little more depth at the linebacker position. You're out on some of these series, like even in the fourth quarter. What has that been like for you?
Yeah, it's a little it's new for sure. My entire life, I feel like I've always been on the field, and so I mean, there was a series in Auburn where I'm on the sideline. I mean, obviously, it's tough. You get you out of your groove a little bit. And I look over and I see Billy, and I'm like, what are you doing here? And so like the fact that the we have so much depth where if obviously if coach wants to put in guys that are fresh and feel like they can make some plays and put them in a better position, obviously as a player you have to obviously respect your coach's decision and go with that. But looking over and seeing Billy on the sideline, and obviously we have very good safeties and very good other linebackers, that it's a little like, wow, like, okay, this has come a long way.
I have to admit, I know what series I think you're talking about, and I had a breakdown on the radio broadcast. Why do we not have our best player on defense in the game right now?
Yeah, they did score on that drive, but
Well, I know it's tough, but and you mentioned these guys. I'd like to hear you talk about them a little bit more, though. Kip and Kobe, they've been great. Obviously, Kip made the big interception there, the pick six, and Kobe's played really well. I mean, that's got to be cool for you to see those guys both develop.
oh, 100%. Especially with Kip and Kobe, when they came in, seeing how much progress they've made. I mean, Coach Venables, I remember one day at practice was like, we were doing a drill, a stymie crossface. I'm sure you know exactly what that is. And
Yeah.
when Kobe first got here, it's like he had two left feet, dude. He'd fall over anytime we did bags, and then Kip was just about a buck 50. It felt like, but we were doing stymie crossface, and they just couldn't get it right. And Coach V's, obviously cursing him out, and he's like, "I'm gonna have to send you guys over to the sand pit or something." And you guys were playing in the playground, some damn kids is what he said, something like that. But to see where they've come, and it's awesome, dude. And just seeing how they've matured as players, it's incredible, and it makes me really proud seeing them out there. And when you talk about young guys, you can go on and add Lewis Carter and
Yeah.
Sammy Alma-Seagard, guys from the class after them who have really stepped up. I mean, Lewis Carter is a playmaker, dude. He plays like a just a bat out of hell, man. And then Sammy's just so versatile, can really play any position on the defense.
And Sammy has been, I mean, his role has really increased with it sucked watching Kendall Dobley go down the way
Yeah.
that he did in the Tennessee game. But how have you guys kind of responded to that as a group? Because Dolby was one of the best playmakers you guys had on that side of the ball.
Absolutely. I mean, what happened to Kendall is tragic, dude. It's terrible when a guy like that who loves the game so much, he has a incredible story. A guy that just he would do anything for us on that field. So when something like that happens, it hurts, and everyone kind of saw the emotion that that brings to a team. It's hard, but I mean, Sammy's had taken that opportunity and has really stepped up. It's a guy who has super committed. It looks like he always danced on TikTok, but I know what he does. He's studying. He's making sure he knows what he's doing. He's out in that field, but he's very versatile. Sammy can kind of play really good cover skills for how big he is, and which is awesome in that position. Cheetah's really difficult. So when you have a player like that, you can be in a lot more different coverages, be in some blitzes, and he can do a lot of stuff.
And it looks like maybe getting Deshaun McCullough back, or at least he's starting to practice with you guys some.
Yeah, I think I don't know where he is right now with his injury and everything, but I mean, hopefully we can get him back out there. Start making plays because that's another guy who on third downs can really get to the quarterback. That's what he's great at. And now with some packages, with our depth, we're able to put him in a lot of positions where where he can really make some plays.
I know it's on the offensive side of the ball, but I consider you the vocal leader of the football team. I consider you the leader of the football team. How did you handle how things have kind of played out at the quarterback position for your guys' team?
I mean, you really just got to, obviously as a defensive guy, you're not in on, what goes on in the offense side of the ball. You don't really know what's going on like in their meetings or anything like that. But as a team, you kind of have to support. It's hard for Jackson. And I'm sure I haven't talked to him too much, but I mean that situation that he's kind of dealt with. But he's done a phenomenal job responding. He's still a leader on this team. Every single day he comes with the right mindset and attacks. And then you have Mike as a young guy who's really starting to step up and be a lot more vocal and be a kind of step in a leadership role from himself. And so I think the offense is really just figuring it out and get things rolling.
Texas week coming up. You've played in some crazy OU Texas games. If the first 5 or 6 weeks of college football is any indicator, this one's probably going to be crazy too. What have you seen so far from their offense that you like? That's I mean not scary, but that you're going to have to defend well.
Yeah, I mean they do a phenomenal job. Their routes are deep. They run those curl routes at around 20 yards. So I mean, as a linebacker, your usual drops around 10 to 12. And so now really have to work on really finding those routes. Which is challenging. Especially they do a lot of it's like phony play. It's like they pull the guards, which as a linebacker, you're thinking run all day. But Lincoln kind of does something very similar where they pull the guards to help on the pass protections and the way they protect the quarterback. And so you have to be keen on that and know when it's a fake so they kind of by the linebackers are able to hit those routes at around 20 yards, which is challenging. So to be able to stop that, and they do a ton of trick plays, a lot of different motions. They throw a lot of motions, eye candy at you to get your eyes messed up and attack you at those places. They want to try and manipulate the defense, so the kind of the players are playing, and see what the actual players know, and not so much the scheme that you're in.
The quarterback situation for Texas heading into the game is an interesting one. Ewers has been hurt.
Hmm.
He's missed the last couple of games. Arch Manning has come out and has played well. Like, how do you guys handle the preparation as a defense? Because Ewers and Manning, they're two different type of guys
For
when it
sure.
comes to the athleticism.
Absolutely. I think obviously you got to expect Quinn to come back. You guys, he's being healthy kind of for this game is how we see it. But you got to be ready for both quarterbacks. Obviously, it's the Red River game. Anything can happen. Shoot, my freshman year, that's when they gave the keys to Caleb. So it's kind of just how it goes. You never know. And so you got to be prepared for both quarterbacks. Obviously, different play styles, like you said. Arch, you got to be ready because he likes to run. People didn't really expect that, but he's a great runner, and so you just got to be prepared.
You didn't bump into any of those guys down in Dallas, did you?
Yeah, unfortunately, I did not.
Well, I guess it probably ends up being a good thing.
Yeah, you see a lot of guys wearing Texas shirts, so it's a little challenging. Just I like to lay low though, so I'm not really trying to
Well, yeah,
start
it's easy
anything.
for you to lay low, 6'4", like the most recognizable face on the OU football team. I'm sure nobody noticed you.
It's not as bad as you think. When if you're just laying low, you're not really going in these places. You do a pretty good job.
I
So
gotcha.
I don't know if this goes into your thinking, right? You're just preparing to play a football game, but they're going to recreate the cigar picture if you guys get beat, right?
Yeah, I mean the year before that,
You
I
know
mean
that's coming if you lose the game. You have to
I,
know that.
it kind of comes with it. I think just
Right.
it's kind of the nature of the robbery. It's kind of you got if you get punched, you got to respond, and obviously it's some fuel, I'm sure, but it is what it is. I think the when we lost 49-0, I think Quinn took a photo kind of like that. So it's kind of just a little Joe Burrow-esque photo. It is what it is. Maybe they'll start selling shirts so we can use that on Twitter or something and get back at them.
All right, it's pretty wild though. Whenever you look at it, all of a sudden, the rest of the SEC has kind of gone backwards, and there's Texas at number one, right there at the top of the list. It's this will. Would you say, Gabe? First time since 1984.
I believe that's what I read. First time Texas will have been ranked number one for this game since
Yeah.
1984.
Oh, that's awesome. I was really excited when Bama lost that game because I was like, all right, now we can play number one Texas. That's an incredible opportunity. Coming back from my senior year, I wouldn't want it any other way.
It's it's going to be a lot of fun. Now, one of the things about playing in the SEC that I think a lot of fans were excited, players like you were excited about. I know, so I was certainly excited about it. Was the atmospheres. You think about how much fun that Auburn atmosphere was, and even I know it didn't go the way that you wanted it to go against Tennessee, but that's the best
hmm
atmosphere I've seen in Norman in a long time, man. Just what has it been like initially in these first couple SEC games?
I mean, obviously the Tennessee game, the fans did an incredible job. The atmosphere, like you said, it was incredible. I think Auburn. I mean, it was definitely it was pretty it wasn't hostile, I would say, but I mean there was a lot of energy there. I think I would have liked to experience a night game, at that stadium. I think the sound, obviously as a defensive guy, you don't really get too much noise or anything like that. I mean, kind of just how it goes, but um it wasn't crazy. I think Cincinnati like last year, I think actually got louder.
Hmm.
It's just the way the stadium's built. They have it enclosed in, and so I think the sound was probably the loudest game.
Yeah. Well, it's like every stadium has its own unique kind of feel to it and sound to it. But yeah, it was what I liked about Auburn was like the just the layout of the stadium was really cool, and the orange out, all that stuff was pretty cool. Do you have like what you would call up to this point, like maybe your favorite moment of the year?
Um, Favorite moment. That's tough. I think. Oh, actually, no, it's really easy. Anytime Jaden Jackson has to do an interview, that's definitely my favorite moment. That dude is hilarious. You can tell that he plays like a senior, but he interviews like a freshman. It's awesome.
I was expected maybe the Hawkins run at Auburn, or maybe the what they're called the Kip Six at Auburn. He goes with Jaden Jackson doing interviews. That's awesome.
That's what you spend your time like downtime watching YouTube interviews with Jay Jackson.
It's just hilarious. I love one of my favorite things to do is look up play like anyone on the team just look up their old like videos, old interviews because the content that it cracks me up anytime. Like a Lewis Carter interview is also another good one. They're hilarious. But talking about the Kip Six, the best part about that, I think, if Kip he almost got knocked over when the dude like the guard pushed him into that play, which makes it 100 times better. And so it is awesome. And Kobe has horrible hands, man. He could have two interceptions that game. And there's always an excuse. That's awesome. We
Now
give him the
with
hardest
Kip,
times.
I talked to him after the game, and he said the only thing he was worried about was getting caught from behind. And he did. He still scored, but he did get caught. Did you guys give him some heat in the meeting rooms?
Not, dude, that Cam Coleman, that dude was moving.
He was
I
flying.
remember the scouting report we had for him was like not it said like I don't know if it's correct, but it said like not crazy speed, like and so watching him just I almost had an angle on him, then you see him just fly by me. So I mean it's hard. He tried to have a little DK Metcalf moment, but yeah, I had no chance. Kip scored. I mean, I've been in a situation I can't say anything, dude. I got to the 2 yard line on mine, so it is what it is.
That was yeah, Cam Coleman was flying on that play. But luckily he kind of dragged Kip in, which was great. Now, before you get out of here, Danny, we want to hit some of the NIL stuff you've got going on. One of the reasons you're joining us today is because of your sponsorship with our good friends at Schwab Meat. How much fun has that marketing campaign been? Like the got that dog in you thing has been. It seems like it's been a lot of fun for you and for Nick Martin at Oklahoma State to do all that stuff.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Swab's it's been incredible. It's been great. You know, they provide food for my parents' tailgate, which is awesome on Saturdays.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, at first I was a little skeptical when they said like, "Oh, we'll have a an OSU football player, meet up." And I was like, "I don't know." But then, meeting Nick, Nick is a great dude. You know, we've been in touch. You know, I love the way he plays the game. You know, he's a phenomenal athlete. You know, extremely fast. He kind of reminds me of kind of like Kip, but I've had a great experience with them. It's been awesome. And then also doing some with JBL. They provided speakers for my parents' tailgate as well, and they've done a phenomenal job. And then also speakers for the obviously the walk-ons. They gave that, and then a massive speaker for the locker room, which is everyone's always using it, which is great.
I the stuff you did for the walk-ons, right? $50,000 of your own money. You mentioned the JBL care package that each of those guys got as well. When did you come up with that? Like, when did you say, "Hey, this is something I want to do"? Like, what was the origin for that? Because that's just you don't really see guys
Mhm.
doing that around the country.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of thought like that. I remember seeing somewhere on social media that the Clemson running back he did something I think for some of his teammates. I remember like, all right, this is awesome. Like that's what it's about. You know, this is what NIL should be used for. And then I remember, when coming back, being like, obviously you want more and more and more. And it's like, let me think about, even at Oklahoma, we use NIL for everyone. Everyone gets a piece and just wanted to, able to give back to the other guys that aren't necessarily seeing anything.
What's the hierarchy for who gets to use the speaker in the locker room? Like who has the worst music? Who has the best music? How does that whole thing play out?
I mean, usually, 95% of the time, rap's getting played by one of the DBs. There was once where I was like, I'm gonna put some music on. I think Jaden Gibson turned it off probably in 2 seconds. And he said, "Man, what's this white music doing going on here?" He turned it off. Then sometimes when the O line's in there, they'll play some country, or they love Metallica, or they always play rock. So that's kind of how it goes. But if there's any DBs or wide receivers, they take it over pretty quick.
You got to get your white boy Wednesday in, man.
Yeah,
You got to get it.
very.
You got it. That's but the rest of the time you're just like, "Hey, we'll listen to whatever it is, what it is." Now, I, you're having a ton of success on the field. I think you're crushing it with in the NIL stuff. Are you ever driving around in that car from Classic Chevy OKC and listening to your JBL stuff and maybe eating a Schwab dog and you're just like, this is awesome. Like college football is the best now. Like it seems like such an advantageous time to be a college football player with
I
how
mean,
all the
absolutely.
NIL stuff is working.
Absolutely. I'm sure both you guys wish you could probably play in today's era. I know Teddy would be a very he would have had a lot of money. Definitely
You're
100%.
exactly wrong. Teddy would say no to everything because Teddy is strange.
Maybe. But I think
I would have
you,
said yes to the car. I would have
There
said
you go.
yes
Fair
to
enough.
that for sure.
I wish I got a car. I think I remember when we shot that commercial with the Boz, I was like I remember talking to them and they're like, we're not going to give you this car. The dream died very quickly.
That's
But
funny.
No, I mean the NIL's been awesome. Obviously, you have to utilize it, but you gotta be smart with it. There's many times where you turn stuff down just because you don't want to. I don't want to use like be distracted or come off in that. So you have to find time. You have to make but at the end of the day, football is above anything else. So, if I feel like the NIL is getting too much, or it's a distraction, or I need to be watching film. I'll be quick to obviously tell anyone that look, I can't do that deal. I'm sorry. It is what it is.
It's a great way to look at it.
Yep.
Last thing, man. I don't know if this is something that gives you guys extra motivation or anything like that. You're going to play Texas. It's OU Texas. Probably don't need any extra motivation, but how do you feel? Two touchdown underdog.
Mm.
Honestly, I honestly prefer to be an underdog. I think it's just kind of how OU is in my mind. I'd rather, everyone kind of doubt us, just turn our back on us, just kind of put our head down, go to work. It is what it is. Obviously, two touchdowns a little crazy, especially in that game, in that atmosphere. OU Texas, the greatest rivalry, but obviously I'm pumped, man. You guys know how it is. You don't need any. I didn't even know that you don't need any extra juice.
Yeah.
I can't
It's
wait
going to
for this
be
game.
one score game in the fourth quarter would be my bet. So it's going to be awesome. Looking
Danny, you're
forward.
the man. Appreciate you taking the time. Stay healthy, and we'll see you in the Cotton Bowl on Saturday.
Yes, sir. Thank you, guys.
All right, let's recap a couple of the best games from a wild week 6 in college football. But first, hitting the highway, remember to stop at Love's Travel Stops. You can't miss the heart of the highway. And with the Love's app, you can also save big. How big? How about 10 or 15 cents big? Save 10 cents per gallon on gas and 15 cents per gallon on auto diesel. Save with the Love's app today and be welcomed by clean places and friendly faces. Certain conditions may apply. See loves.com for more details.
All you tailgaters, listen up. We are now officially in the premium conference of college football, and you expect a premium product on the field and on the grill. That's why you need Didier Ranch's steak burgers to take your tailgate to the next level. Proudly raised in Oklahoma for over 120 years, premium beef this good is hard to come by. Go to DidierRanch.com. That's DIDIER ranch.com. Use promo code Oklahoma15 for 15% off your order. Didier Ranch. Tradition plays better and tastes better.
And we are brought to you by Simple Modern, the official drinkware partner of the Oklahoma Sooners. This season, Simple Modern is creating unique drinkware for each home game. So get your exclusive refillable Sooner cups at any of the last 3 home games. And when away games have you cheering at home, get your OU gear at simplemodern.com or Amazon Simple Modern Shop, along with more than 100 partnerships with colleges and professional sports teams. With 10% of all Simple Modern profits going to charity, many in Oklahoma, you're also helping Oklahomans off the field. Simple Modern, it's good everywhere. Let's start in Nashville. Whoa.
Well, you could have started
Vanderbilt
anywhere. It was a wild weekend for sure. But
Vanderbilt beats Alabama 40-35. It is Vandy's first win over Alabama since 1984. Vandy was, I believe, 0-60 against AP top 5 teams. Now they are 1-60, and it is their first win ever over number 1. What a win for Clark Lee. Diego Pavia was incredible for Vandy in this game. Where do we even start with this one? Maybe the most surprising thing was it didn't feel fluky. Uh, Other than the pick 6, which happened very early in the football game for Jalen Milroe, it kind of just felt like Vanderbilt was better than Alabama on Saturday.
it did. It's crazy, and watched most of the game. What did Vanderbilt jump out? Was it 13-0 that they jumped out to?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Went
So they
right
had to
down the
leave.
field and scored and then had the pick 6.
Yeah. So it was like, okay, jumped out early. They're going to play a good half of football, perhaps, but Alabama's clearly going to reel this thing in and blow them out the second half. And they kept scoring, they kept moving the ball, they kept getting stops. You're right. It's like they're if they would have been wearing two different jerseys instead of what we know Vanderbilt as and what we know Alabama as, Vanderbilt would have looked like the better football team for 4 quarters.
It was Milrow got sacked and fumbled, and Vandy cashed it in to go up 40-28. I think there was about 5 minutes to go in the game at that point, and that's when it started to feel very real.
Yeah.
That's when I was sitting on my couch going, Vanderbilt's about to beat Alabama.
Yep.
Like time is running out for the Tide, and it was incredibly impressive that they pulled it off. And I'm not sure there's a guy that's more important to his team in all of college football than Diego Pavia. That dude is so fun to watch. That post game interview was incredible. He is Ted. That guy's an absolute baller. I mean,
Yes, he is.
16 for 20, 252, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. That play on the 4th and 1 where he's just buying time and then just rips it down the field for that touchdown. I, he was the best quarterback on the field.
He was fantastic. He was great. Now, we've seen flashes from Vandy this year that they're a solid football team. They had that big opening weekend win. Played Missouri really tight. Like there's been some moments, but they put it all together in a big way. And I, I don't know what else do you say. I watched Alabama a week ago. Look like they were an unstoppable football team. And this is college football for you. The very next week, you go on the road to who's supposed to be, the worst team in the conference and has been for a long time, and you get straight up beat. Like nothing weird happened, straight up beat.
They were, I mean, Vanderbilt just did the little things to win the football game. I was really impressed with how physical they were on both sides of the line of scrimmage, especially that offensive line. They moved Alabama's defensive line off the football
I did.
consistently. And then Vanderbilt, they scored points off of Bama's turnovers. They were fantastic on third down. Pavia was awesome on third down. I think they were 12 for 18, and they did a great job executing in goal line situations. When they got the ball down in that area of the field, they scored touchdowns. Like they moved Bama off the ball and scored rushing touchdowns. Like it was incredibly impressive.
Yeah, they beat them fairly handily, right? And then they're down in the football at the end, and you could see DeBoer over there on the sideline. Like it was weird watching the game. Like you could see him becoming more and more panicked as the game went on. Like just emotionally, how he looked, and then obviously at the end of the game, Bama players upset, and which you understand it, rightfully so. It's just it was you can't have a bigger contrast from one week to the next, and it's just you can't explain it. It's college football.
Malachi Moore, the clip of him going around Twitter, the man lost it. Did you see him go and kick the football?
Oh yeah, oh yeah, meltdown, total
Just
meltdown.
complete meltdown. And I never thought I'd see Alabama lose to Vanderbilt.
No,
And credit to Clark Lee, credit to that entire staff, credit to those players. Man, it was clear they came out, they put that first drive together, and that looked like a group that believed they could go and win the football game. Now, Ryan Williams still had his handful of ridiculous plays where you go, oh my gosh, this guy is so good.
he's floating out there, and everyone else is trying to run and tackle, and he's just floating and dancing. It's incredible.
He's so, and this may sound strange, he's so elegant on the football field.
Yeah,
It's like a ballerina, like an elite ballerina with this body control. But he had his couple of ridiculous plays, and it still wasn't enough. I
I
mean,
know.
time of possession in this game, 42 minutes to 18 for
You,
Vandy.
you're seeing this in some of these games. Like with these really good offenses, teams are slowing it down, grinding it. But there you can't just stand there and dribble the basketball, right? This isn't high school. Like you have to be able to move the ball, run it effectively, efficiently in order to have the time of possession look like that. You can't just stand there with it. So that's what's the most impressive is Vanderbilt finding ways to move the ball and have these drives and you know, keep Alabama guessing. The play calling was excellent. They came up with big plays when they needed it, but were able to run it for 3, 4, 5 yards pretty consistently.
Bama's defense at the end of the game needed to get a stop, needed to get the ball back to Jalen Milroe in that offense, and
Couldn't do it.
couldn't get off the field. And credit to Vanderbilt. The last thing about this game, whoever decided to put Nick Saban on the big board, saying the only place that's not hard to play in the SEC is Vanderbilt, as they were storming the field, that person deserves a raise.
Oh
That
man.
was that was. I mean, that is the best of college football right there. That was
He said it
fantastic.
in OU Stadium, right? Isn't that where that clip was from?
I believe so.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, that was wild. Dumping the Gatorade on Clark Lee. I'm watching it right now. The just the pandemonium. You love it, man. It's wild. It's one of the craziest weekends in college football, and it just kept happening all day long.
One game that wasn't crazy that I was hoping would be good. Missouri went to College Station and got smacked. 41-10. The Texas A&M Aggies win the football game, and it was a bludgeoning,
From beginning to end.
a whooping from beginning to end. This thing was over early. And Texas A&M was just better in every facet of the game. Just a much more physical football team at the point of attack. And I know there's some people out there saying, well, if they wouldn't have picked up that pass interference flag on the first drive of the game on the fourth down, then it would have been a completely different game. Come on, man. Come on. I mean, really?
I don't know. As I look here, I see A&M ran it 36 times for 236 yards and 5 touchdowns. That doesn't seem to have anything to do with pass interference to me.
They were just head and shoulders the better football team.
Hmm.
I mean, that was a drubbing. And Missouri's offense, I thought Brady Cook's experience at quarterback could be the difference in the football game. I did not know Connor Wigman was going to play.
Yeah.
And I did not know that he was going to play the game of his life. Guy looked incredible, was just slinging it all over the place, had all day in the pocket back there. Their offensive line, they just played a hell of a football game. But Missouri's offense was just overwhelmed by that A&M defense, especially in the first half. Their possessions in the first half, turnover on downs, punt, 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 end of half.
Brutal.
Very little success running the ball. Missouri's offense just could not get anything going in the first half of this football game. Really couldn't get anything going the entire game. Said this was a one-sided affair in College Station.
Yeah. 6 sacks. A&M got to cook a ton of times. Like you said, had all time to throw the ball whenever they were on offense. Missouri couldn't generate a whole lot of pressure. A&M ran the ball really well. Like I said, 36 for 236, had, a couple of really long runs in there. Missouri couldn't run the ball at all. 30 carries for 68 yards, and a lot of those sacks end up being factored in on some of that as well. But it was wild. Yeah, Brady Cook was 13 to 31. Didn't have a lot of places to go with the ball. Really inefficient. That's not how they typically operate. And it's funny going back and reading all the things leading up to the game, and then like the blanket story is just crazy.
Okay, so what happened? What do we think? What's our theory here? Because if for those of you that don't know, Theo Weiss, former Sooner, got to his hotel room in College Station, and there was a blanket. One of Texas A&M's defensive backs' nickname is the blanket, and there was a Texas A&M blanket in his hotel room at Missouri's team hotel. And after the game, Mike Elko, head coach Texas A&M, was asked about it, and he basically said Eli Drinkowitz was the one that put the blanket in Theo Weiss's hotel room. That's what I gathered from
Yeah,
his comment. Which what do we think? It it
it
seems highly
stands
unlikely that the cornerback did it himself. Like, what is he doing? Finding out what room Theo Weiss is going to be. It was a weird. When I saw it originally, I was like, that's strange. How would he know what room he's in?
right. I would say that I don't know if it was Drinkwitz himself or his OC or his wide receiver coach or an offensive quality. It was somebody from the A&M, or excuse me, it was somebody from the Missouri staff, right? I mean, I don't think they expected him to post it on social media and then the story just kind of blow up from there. Now they're
And
going
then
to
he
have to
wore it
be
to the
answering the
game.
questions. Yeah, wore it into the out there on the field whenever they were getting warmed up.
I You have to imagine Eli Drinkwitz is getting asked about that
Oh yeah,
during his press conference this week, and I
no
cannot
question.
wait to see what he says.
Yep, yep. I, like I said, I don't know that it was necessarily him, but it had to have been someone from their staff. Like, what are we talking about here?
I I don't know, but whatever their goal was, it did not work. I
Right.
I was at halftime of this game. I was wondering if there had to have been like one or a group of very optimistic Missouri fans out there that were thinking about the Georgia Alabama game a week ago, going, "Hey, here we come. We're going to put it together in the second half, just like Georgia did last week. Going to have a big second half. Here comes the bounce back. Texas A&M's, their offense is going to stop clicking." And did they rip off a 75-yard touchdown run right out of the half? And it was like, okay, no, this is very over. This thing is over.
Yeah. And I think there were quite a few people, myself included, that were not sure how good Missouri was. You look at the year they had last year. I mean, they're missing some pieces from that football team, obviously, but a lot of the important pieces were back. And you look at the schedule, and a lot of things lined up really nicely for them. But were they really the ninth best team in the country? Hard to say. Um, they didn't look like the ninth best team in the country. But at the same time, I don't know how good A&M is. It's the same thing with Alabama. We know that Alabama's a really good football team and at their best can clearly beat anyone in the country, but how good is Vandy? I They look like they're pretty good. I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's hard to what do you ultimately take from some of these football games other than college football's crazy?
Yeah, that's what makes it the best sport on the planet.
Yeah.
Weekends like this. And the only other thing on Missouri A&M, I thought it was going to be Marcel Reed. I did not know that Wigman was going to play. Maybe that would have changed my opinion on the football game because I was going in thinking, hey, big game, freshman, probably going to make a mistake or two. And that that clearly did not happen. How about the only other thing? Did you see that Marcel Reed's sister is on the Missouri staff and she didn't get to go to practice this week?
Yeah.
Golly.
That's another thing. It's like I- I don't know, it's just a weird way he handles things very weird.
I think he's just a weird guy.
It's just a weird guy. I don't know. I mean, that's
I, you
do you
mentioned
do that
like
with every guy that has like a teammate that he played with in high school that's on the other team or a cousin? I mean, that's just such a weird thing, like of recruiting. Like she's in the recruiting office, right? Is banned from going to practice all week. Just strange.
Missouri has not showed us anything this season to make me think that they're a good football team. This is the first team they've played with like a really talented roster, and they got dismantled from start to finish.
Yep.
So we'll see what it looks like the rest of the way. The only other thought I have on this game is we've already mentioned a lot of the strange things regarding Eli Drinkwitz in this game. You can't kick that field goal, man.
Oh God, I
You can't do
forgot
that.
about that.
12 seconds to go, you're down 41-7. You just can't do it. You can't do it. That is the saddest of sad field goals. You can't do it.
I agree.
I don't
I
care how it
agree.
affected people's over under bets. You just, as a head football coach, you have to give your offense a chance to try to score a touchdown. You can't kick that field goal there.
No, no,
It's a net negative for the football team. You know what I mean?
for everyone. I mean, and you could see Elko's response to it over on the sideline. They zoomed in on him immediately, and I will not say some of the things that he was saying, but you almost like if you're A&M, it's like you're mad that they're kicking the field goal because come on, let's see if you can get into the end zone again, see if you can earn it, and they don't. But it's like the ultimate bow down to your opponent at that moment, isn't it? That's crazy.
I said I hate that Texas A&M has a football coach.
I know it. I told everyone. I used to tell Tyler that I do my radio show with every day whenever he kept like making fun of Jimbo and hoping that they're going to fire him. I was like, dude, you do not want that. You do not. And I know they probably won't get the hire right, but what if they do? And I think they did. They got a no nonsense, a football guy, not a talker. He's about it. And I really like what he's done there. Defense is solid.
Went to bat for his quarterback in his presser after the game, too. Was pretty fired up. Uh, Team's getting better. Defense is legit. I I think Texas A&M has themselves a football coach. Quite unfortunate.
And they're going to be a tough. How good are they? Again, just like everyone else, hard to
Oh,
know. But it looks like pretty much everyone in this conference is you can't check any boxes this year anywhere. Just say that this is a win, this is a win. You can't do it. You have to earn every single one of them, including against Vanderbilt, obviously.
and you got to earn it against Arkansas.
Yep.
The Tennessee Volunteers coming off the bye week, just floating through the bye, riding the high of winning in Norman, and they go to Arkansas and get knocked off 19-14. And Arkansas I thought they did a really good job of controlling the line of scrimmage, especially in the first half of this football game. Just completely dominated time of possession. You look at that first half. I thought that they were the better team at the line of scrimmage, dominated time of possession, but they only had a 3-0 lead to show for it. And I kind of looked at it and go, man, remember, they turned it over on downs twice. On 4th and 1, they missed a field goal. It felt like they had missed their opportunity to create separation. And then Tennessee just came out hot to start the second half. And it was one of those where you looked at it and you go, okay, here it comes. And to Arkansas's credit, man, they right when Tennessee punched them right in the face out of halftime, they stood back up and they kept swinging. That was for them to absorb that blow that they did and to go win the football game. That was impressive.
No, it was really impressive. The defensive performance that they had, you mentioned they came out right there out of the gate in the second half. Tennessee did and had things rolling, but to take them to halftime with 0 on the board and then, come back out, regroup, and have the fourth quarter that they did, shut them out in 3 of the 4 quarters, held one of the best offenses in the country to 14. I mean, I, they looked really good. They were getting after the quarterback. Big hits, did a pretty good job in the running game. They did let a couple of big runs out, but mean, they kept battling even when their quarterback goes down and the backup comes in. I mean, still able to move the football down the field. I mean, it was just a well played football game, man.
When Taylon Green went out, it was kind of a buzzkill for me because I didn't think Malachi Singleton was going to be able to get it done. And to his credit, he really couldn't do a thing until the last drive of the game when they absolutely had to have it.
Yeah.
Got the run game going, and then an interesting decision from Josh Heupel that I'm sure. I mean, what'd you think of them letting him score? They absolutely let him score.
Yeah.
There's no doubt
They
about it.
did. They did. And I I guess I don't mind it in that spot. It's hard to wrap your head around it as a defensive player, but I mean, the fact is they needed to get the football back in order to try and win the game, right? And you have to concede the touchdown and hopefully you can go down and score, keep the ball in your possession and try and make something happen. I mean, you're running out of time. Time is short and you got to get the football back and sometimes that's the only way you can do it.
I thought that I thought that Arkansas's defense played really well.
Yeah.
And when they had to get stops in the fourth quarter, that's what they did. I know there's going to be a lot of discussion about Heupel's decision to let them score there late, but I do wonder if maybe his biggest regret from the game was there was about 5.5 minutes to go. They had 4th and 3 from the plus 46. And my guess is that he looked at the situation. Taylon Green was out. Singleton was the quarterback. It hadn't looked particularly good for Arkansas offensively. And I wonder if he looked at it and said, you know what? I'm going to trust my defense. I wonder if he regrets that decision. But that's kind of, he played a lot of the similar situations in the OU game similarly.
Yeah.
So but, he had a chance to try to extend the drive and go get some points there and chose to punt it away. Took the delay and then punted it away.
Yeah, they got it inside the 10, punted it away, and then they got what they wanted. They got the 3 and out. So, um, what they didn't expect was the 66-yard punt going the other direction that flipped the field all the way
Just a
back to the 20
missile.
and couldn't get rolling again. But here's the thing. They they still had a chance and they don't it's a small chance, but you're in range, you're throwing it into the end zone, and I don't know, you run out of bounds there at the to end the game. What's going on?
Dude,
Throw
what
it
was
over your
that?
head, do whatever I mean,
I You
I
got to throw
remember
the
Milton
football.
doing that a couple years ago at the end of a football game on a fourth down.
I I just don't understand how that can happen. It's the last play of the football game. And I know that he hasn't played a ton of football. I understand that, but you have to know it's the last play of the football game and you just got to throw it up and give your guys a chance. I mean, come on, man. What? And speaking of Nico, we have seen some glimpses of brilliance. But as the competition has gotten better, we're starting to see a lot of glimpses of average.
Yeah, fair.
Very average. So I am it's we're monitoring the situation. How about that? We're monitoring the situation. Tennessee racked up a lot of yards and a lot of points against some bad football teams. And all of a sudden that offense played a couple teams with the pulse and I mean has not exactly looked elite.
Right. Yeah. There's a lot of truth to that. I don't know. I mean, he wasn't very efficient. He makes a couple of flashy wow plays, but then there's some mistakes in there, some ball security issues. Which you expect from a young quarterback, but he comes with a whole lot of fanfare. I I don't know. I think they're clearly in good hands moving forward. How good is he going to be this year? I don't know. He'll improve as he goes, I imagine, but I, you're right. 14 points against Arkansas, blanked going into halftime. Didn't perform all that great against Oklahoma. That we kept him hemmed in for a big portion of that game. The road woes continue for Tennessee.
I I just think when you look at the way that that offense was being talked about just a couple weeks ago, and I think it's a good offense, I really do, but 2 weeks to prepare against that Arkansas defense and you go and score 14 points, like that's just not good enough. So it's just something to monitor. I'm not saying they're frauds. I'm just saying, when is Tennessee's offense going to put together a performance against a good football team where we go, okay, look at that group roll now? It just, because it really hadn't happened.
No. Um, and the rest of their schedule, they've got Florida this week at home. Typically I would say that's going to be an easy game, but it's hard to say anything like that after the weekend we just watched. Then they've got Alabama at home the week after that. Kentucky, that's going to be a difficult game. Kentucky's got a good defense. They still have to go to Georgia. And I don't know whether you think it's a fluke or not, but they're at Vandy on the last game of the season. So, I mean, tough home games, Alabama, Kentucky, tough road games, Georgia. And I don't know, do we classify Vanderbilt as a tough road game? I don't know, but um, no one's schedule looks easy anymore.
No,
And there's schedules that don't look as difficult as they previously did. But, I think the point is that anyone in this conference can beat anyone. You got to have some things happen, obviously, and some calls go your way, and you know do what you got to do in the moment. But whenever Vanderbilt beats Alabama, I think we know that everyone better be on guard every single weekend.
I think that's fair to say. And the last thing from Tennessee, Arkansas, pushing people for no reason is not right. But if you come on the field as a fan, do not get close to the players. Just that's it. That's my only take on the situation. I just think that you got to be smart if you're a fan. And there's a video going around of a Tennessee defensive tackle pushing a guy who actually just trucks a Tennessee cheerleader as a result of it. But just remember, I love field storming. It's great. But stay away from the players.
Yep.
Just stay away from the players, because if you try to press charges against that player, all that player has to say is, I felt threatened. I felt it necessary to defend myself. And as ridiculous as it may sound when you watch that video with how small that guy was and how big the guy from Tennessee was, you're not going to win that. You're not supposed to be on the field. I'm just saying that I love field storming, but do everything you can to avoid the opposing players. That is the best way to ensure something bad does not happen.
Yeah. Well, you got to understand it's very emotional. While you're taking the field high on life, loving what just went down, the exact opposite is how the other team is feeling as they're trying to get out of there. So it's definitely a bad situation. whenever there's that much emotion involved. And like, I don't know, it's hard to tell from that clip. I don't think it didn't look like the student was getting in the player's face
No,
exactly. He was just maybe like, and
go around him.
someone else may have just gotten his face. Yeah,
Go
you know,
around him. Just I'm saying I don't think what the guy from Tennessee did was right. That's not what I'm saying. All I'm saying is avoid that situation at all costs if you're a fan. And I've been in many of those situations as a player and as a broadcaster, right? Being down on the sideline, I've seen people storm the field against OU. And I always tell people just avoid the players because it is a combustible situation. And I'm not a lawyer, but fans aren't supposed to be out on the field, and those players are going to get the benefit of the doubt. And any player that is coached up by a good lawyer to say, I felt threatened, I felt my safety was in jeopardy, like that's all they got to say. I just we see this quite a bit. Just stay away from the opposing players. That's all I'm saying.
yeah. Well,
I've never touched anyone. Yeah, when I was a player or as a broadcaster in those situations, I've never touched anyone. I think my actions show how I feel you should handle those situations. All I'm saying is try to avoid that situation if you're a fan at all costs.
hey, I think of it this way. If you jump into the tiger's cage at the zoo, you can't get mad at the tiger whenever it tears your arm off and uses it as a chew toy. Okay. So like when you jump into that environment, I not that any of it is ever okay, but when it's that emotional and those players are that upset and you come in there running and yelling and you've had 15 or 20 beers, like it's the perfect recipe for bad stuff. So you're right. Avoid it.
Just avoid it. All right, let's finish up with our winners and losers of the weekend. Got a lot more crazy college football stuff to get to. But first,
Schwab Meat loves football. They make delicious smoked meats, hot dogs, and sausages for us to enjoy before, during, and after games. You should go load up on schwabmeat.com and use promo code OKBreakdown for free shipping on orders over $75. Schwab also loves the football players in Oklahoma. They've partnered with Danny Stutsman and Nick Martin. Those two linebackers got the dog in them. Schwab should know. Dogs are what they do. Schwab Meat, the official hot dog of game days.
and three things matter in banking: service, service, and service. And First Fidelity Bank's commitment to exceptional service is more than a promise, it's their foundation. FFB has been by your side for over a century, and they are honored to be a part of your journey. Banking isn't about where you've been, it's about where you're headed. Open an account at an award winning bank today at ffb.com. At First Fidelity Bank, we go where you go.
And head to the garage for hand smashed patties, butter toasted buns, and ice cold beer. It's the perfect spot to watch any big game. And with all the garage locations being open to 10 p.m. or later every night, it's the go to late night spot. Visit eatatthegarage.com to find a location near you and order online from the garage in your neighborhood.
And Insurica has launched a new digital agency introducing Insurica Direct. Whether you're in Oklahoma or anywhere across the United States, they've got you covered. From small business insurance and health insurance for your employees to insurance for individuals like home, auto, and even Medicare supplements, Insurica Direct's got it all. Start your journey today at insuricadirect.com. Remember, at Insurica, we specialize in you. As always, Ted, kick us off. Who do you have as your winner of the weekend?
Well, I mean, there was plenty of options, but I had to go with Ashton Jeanty. Um, I think he went from unknown to the Heisman favorite in a very short amount of time. A lot of that perhaps has to do with some people losing football games, but the dude is absolutely incredible. Backed it up this week with pretty easy little first half, 13 carries, 186 yards, 3 touchdowns. First carry of the game was like a 65-yard touchdown. Uh, just incredible. It's already tied the NCAA record for 70 plus yard touchdowns in a season. Um, he already broke 1,000 yards, tied the record in doing it in only 5 games. And I was looking at this. He's got, there's a lot of comparisons between Barry Sanders' season that he had and the season that you're seeing Jeanty have right now with Boise State. And let's see, Barry Sanders had 1,000 rushing yards on in his first 5 games with 130 carries. Ashton Jeanty's done it with 90, 40 fewer carries. That's just an incredible number, averaging over 10 yards per carry. It's crazy.
1,031 yards, 16 touchdowns, 10.9 yards per carry in 5 games, and he hasn't played in 2 of the second halves of those 5 games. 7 rushes of 60 or more yards.
Yeah. And I know there's people saying right now that, oh, well, yeah, but he hasn't played anyone, with the division that they're in. But they did. They played Oregon. And yes, they lost to Oregon, but he still had 25 carries, 192 yards, and 3 touchdowns. So, I mean, there's still that.
Him and Travis Hunter right now, 2 guys at the top of the list for
Yeah,
the Heisman
probably.
Trophy.
Probably. Um, I
How about that? An award that I think a lot of people say, hey, goes to the best player or the best quarterback on the best team. And right now, the 2 guys at the top of the list are the running back for Boise State and a guy playing both ways for Colorado.
I know. I know. It's just college football's drunk this year, which is okay. It's a party and it's shaping up. Let's not forget we still have a 12-team playoff later, right?
It's going to be such
We're
a fun year.
we're 5 games in, 6 games in. It's crazy.
Genty is ridiculous. Hopefully, he continues to stay healthy and we get to keep watching him because he's kind of must see TV right now in
I
college
know.
football. Just ridiculously fun to watch.
He is, and he's got it all. Like he breakaway speed, but he runs through people. He's got the shiftiness, and he is a 100% do it all back. He's not like I mean, sometimes you've seen big bruisers, other times you've seen like kind of scat backs. Like, he is really the modern day do everything running back. It's fun to watch him, man.
Who do you have as your loser of the weekend?
I had to go with Oklahoma State. I mean, this was kind of it felt like after the 2 losses that they've taken, the tough one to Utah, and then got beat down pretty good by K State, is like, okay, you're at home, West Virginia. This is a beatable football team. You need to win this home game, or else things are maybe really start to fall apart on you. And West Virginia came in and just took it to them up and down the field on offense for West Virginia. And Oklahoma State had a hard time getting anything going.
That offense is a sad watch right now.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got one of the best backs in the country and they can't run the football. They just can't block anyone. And remember, Ollie Gordon left that game with an injury. We'll see, what his status is moving forward.
What'd
Mike
you think
Gundy after the
about the
game,
statement saying that uh, he should he should be
it
done?
I did not like that. I didn't think that was cool.
Yeah.
But it is, and he doesn't seem like a guy that would bail.
Right.
I mean, he could have gone a lot of different places, chose to stay at Oklahoma State. And I assume he's being compensated well, but I don't know. It seems like Oklahoma State means a lot to him. And if he can play, I think he'll play. But happy for our guy, Neil Brown. That's a big road win for the
Yeah.
Mountaineers. 3 straight losses for Oklahoma State. Gundy's got to make a change at quarterback, right? Just to try to change the mojo. I mean,
Yeah.
those fans were booing Alan Bowman on the first drive of the game, dude.
And what Rangel went in and found a little bit of success, but it's hard to say. I don't. Whatever they have to do to get Ollie Gordon going is really what the answer is. I
Right.
don't know if quarterback change makes that happen. If a redesign of some things makes that happen, I don't know. But your best player is not having a very good season, and I mean he had 13 for 50 yards. It's not good enough for what a lot of people thought was the best running back in the country coming back.
The offense is currently lifeless, and the defense isn't good either. Giving up their tackling was horrible in that game, and they just continue to give up a big number of explosive plays.
Dude, I didn't watch the whole game. I went back and I watched the kind of like the extended breakdown of it that shows most of the big plays. And I just could not believe how good West Virginia was running the football against them. Gabe, 65 carries, 65 rushes for 389 yards and 4 touchdowns.
Hmm.
That is a defense's nightmare. 65 running plays. So, I mean, they snapped it 81 times and 65 of them were running plays, dude. That's crazy. And both quarterbacks, Garrett Green went down at one point, and the I don't know, Markiel or however you say it, he came in and he was running the football and threading the needle through a dime right down there in the red zone, like that little spear touchdown. I mean, everyone had it going for West Virginia.
The Big 12 is a mystery.
Yeah.
Currently, Texas Tech is 3-0 in Big 12 play. BYU, Iowa State, Colorado, and West Virginia are all 2-0. Everyone else has a loss in conference play. This it's going to be utter madness in the Big 12.
That's wild. It's it's madness everywhere, I guess, as you look at it. Indiana's also leading the standings in the Big Ten, 3-0 in conference play.
Sure. Why not?
Throw that in there.
All right, let's finish up with my winner and loser. But first,
We are brought to you by HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit. With HelloFresh, you get farm fresh, pre portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. Skip trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. We all know home cooked meals are so much better for you, but you don't always have time to pull it off. But with HelloFresh handling all the meal planning, shopping, and most of the prep, it's easier than ever to get dinner on the table quick and painless. My wife and I made HelloFresh's pecan crusted chicken with honey mustard sauce and lemony apple salad. It's easy to make, healthy, delicious, easy instructions, and only takes 30 minutes. HelloFresh lets you easily customize your delivery from week to week, tailor everything to your schedule by adjusting your delivery day, or skip a week when you're not able to cook at home. Get 10 free meals at HelloFresh.com/free OK breakdown. Applied across 7 boxes. New subscribers only. Varies by plan. That's 10 free HelloFresh meals just by going to HelloFresh.com/free OK breakdown.
and head to opolisclothing.com for our podcast merchandise and the best OU gear out there. That's OPOLIS clothing.com and use promo code TED, TED for 10% off. That's opolisclothing.com, promo code TED for 10% off. Buttery soft and 10% off. For my winner of the weekend, I'm going with Ole Miss. That was impressive.
Yeah.
That was, an impressive bounce back from the disappointment of last weekend. They went to Columbia and they completely smacked South Carolina around. 27-3. Jackson Dart was okay in the game. Like he didn't do anything crazy, but this game was never close. Ted, South Carolina, especially in the first half, just killed itself. They had the failed fake punt.
Was that the first drive that they
Yeah,
tried that?
if you're gonna go for it on 4th and 1, just
Just do it. Just line up and go for it.
line up and go for it. They put Robbie Ashford in the game, fumbled the mesh point. Ole Miss went right down and scored. And both of those turnovers, Ole Miss goes right down the field and scores and cashes in off them. And then, I mean, Ole Miss's touchdown right before halftime is a result of a South Carolina wide receiver catching the ball on third down and just falling down before he got the first down.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yep.
Ole Miss deserves credit. Every mistake that South Carolina made, it felt like in that first half, they made him pay for it.
They did.
And I've got, I was impressed how Ole Miss handled the environment and how they bounced back. But South Carolina, they laid an absolute egg. That was
Yeah.
a dud of a performance from the Gamecocks.
It wasn't good, and there's mistakes like scattered throughout. You mentioned the fake punt situation that backfired. Even on the drive that Ole Miss had before half, South Carolina gets a big sack. There's a holding call, and it's going to be second 17, and Beamer accepts the penalty, and it's first and 20. I don't understand that. Number one, you take a sack away from your best player, but it changes the way that they call plays on the other side. You ask any offensive coordinator in the country, they'd rather have first and 20 than second and 17. It was weird. They had players doing stupid stuff. What was with the emptying the clip on the sack? How does that happen?
I I feel like you're seeing that
Everywhere.
everywhere. What is going on?
I
Like
have no
fake
idea.
shooting a machine gun at someone? Like what is happening? When did this
Fake
become a
shooting
thing?
a machine gun. And then the guy at Minnesota like pulls up his shirt like he's showing a gun in his waistband. What is happening all of a sudden? Like everyone knows those are penalties. You can't you cannot stand over the top of a guy, point a machine gun at him, and empty a clip. Like in what world have you ever thought that you could get away with doing something like that? It's got to be one of the stupidest things I've ever seen in my life.
When did this become a thing?
I don't know. This week, apparently.
I I just feel like I've seen it multiple places throughout college football. I just don't understand when it became a thing.
I don't know.
I,
Wish I had an answer for you.
maybe I'm just old. Maybe we're not cool with the youths, but it's a very strange thing to do as a celebration on a football field.
Especially whenever you know very plainly, very clearly that it will get you a 15-yard penalty. There is not an exception. I guess if the officials totally blank and miss it and don't see it, you won't get a penalty. But if they see it, you're getting flagged 100% of the time.
Question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Should Army, Navy, and Air Force be allowed to do the machine gun celebration penalty because they serve the country? Should
Sure.
we should only the troops be allowed to do the machine gun celebration?
Absolutely. And you can even use it in recruiting. Like that this week, you could do the machine gun celebration here in the service academies. Come on.
Army and Navy both 5-0. First time since 1945 they both started 5-0.
Army is really good. I
I
mean, I don't know. Obviously, their style, like whenever they get their style going, they are very difficult to beat.
agreed. Speaking of very difficult, let's get back to that Ole Miss win. That goal line package for Ole Miss is fun. Snapping it to a 325-pound defensive lineman.
Yeah. And it's tough too because, like, the formation, how they line up, I believe it was double tight. And then you've got the quarterback, and then you got a big guy here, and then you got two big guys on the other side, right? So whenever that formation, you've got to line up heavy to the side of the two guys, the two big guys, but they're all right there, and they go to the other side of the formation, and it's going to be hard to not be outnumbered and you got so much size coming through there. It's difficult to say the least.
JJ Pegues showed some sweet feet on the second one, though.
I guess so. Just tiptoeing through there.
That was pretty. Hey, 2 rushes for 2 yards and 2 touchdowns. Hell of a
Hey,
stat
that's
line. You know what? He was also the guy that when they ran the fake punt, South Carolina ran the fake punt, he stuffed it. He was the
nice.
one that just completely blew up the guys that were trying to block him. So he had a very large impact in this football game. Quite the day for the big fella
Yeah,
for Ole
that,
Miss. But
that was nice.
I thought Ole Miss's defense they did a really good job of limiting chunk plays. I'm not sure how healthy Lenora Sellers was in this game, but he had one big run. And other than that, I don't think South Carolina had another play over 20 yards. It
Yeah.
was, I mean, the Gamecocks just couldn't find anything explosive offensively. It's it's sad when if you ask a South Carolina fan, like, what was the highlight of the game for you? I think a lot of those people would answer that Juice Wells fumbling through the end zone for a touchback was like the highlight of their day.
Probably so.
Did you see
Yeah.
Kiffin wearing the Judas Wells shirt after the game?
No, I didn't.
Oh,
That's
just
funny.
right up his alley. I wonder who got him that.
I don't know. That was I don't know. That was a big moment for you thought this was South Carolina had a decent little season going. Ole Miss was coming off of that home loss. Like if there was a chance for South Carolina to really insert themselves into the conversation, that was going to be it. And it was bad from the get. The failed fake punt just like kind of let us know what was going to happen the rest of the day.
For my loser of the weekend, thought about going with Cal. Oh my gosh. Hosted game day. The signs from the Cal people were amazing, by the way. But they had Miami, man. It just couldn't finish the job. Everyone wants to argue, was that targeting? Was it not? I'm not sure. I don't want a game to come down to whether it was targeting or not. The bottom line is Cal had a chance to finish the game and they just couldn't do it. And credit to Miami for finishing it out. But that was, I mean, Miami looked dead.
Dead. Yep.
To their credit, found a way, and somehow these last couple weeks for Miami, somehow they're still undefeated. But Cal just let it slip away, Ted.
It was wild. They were moving the ball, just going up and down the field. They were running it. They had a good day through the air. They did give up quite a few sacks and tackles for loss behind the line of scrimmage, which, ended up being a part of their undoing late. But I mean, credit Miami finding a way to come back and keep themselves in it late, keep fighting. It looked, I mean, they very easily could have just in a what was somewhat of a sleepy environment, late night, just laid down and let Cal take it, but they kept battling back.
Cal was up 38-18
Yeah,
in this football game. With in the fourth quarter, that's when they kicked that field goal to go up 38-18. 14-13 left to go in the fourth. And that's
crazy.
when I was laying in bed going, I think I can go to sleep now. I think this thing's over. Woke up, recorded the fourth quarter, woke up and watched it, was like, oh my gosh.
It was crazy. That has to be the record for longest time between um, the game day show and the football game. They were on different days, basically.
That's it. That's a good way of putting it. Poor Reese Davis they called him in. I guess the guy that was supposed to do play by play had some type of emergency, and Reese
Oh,
Davis was battling like he was losing his voice. He was battling through it. I felt bad for him. That couldn't have been fun.
no. Tough duty. Long day of football.
No
Long
doubt.
day.
But my loser of the weekend, USC.
Mm.
The Minnesota Golden Gophers knock off the Trojans 24-17. And I'm just going to be real. It was a fantastic football game.
It was.
Back and forth, extremely competitive. Ted, unless my eyes were fooling me, I thought these were two pretty evenly matched teams going at it. And maybe my eyes were just being fooled by how similar the color schemes were, but I was impressed with Minnesota.
Yeah.
I thought I thought that they were really physical. Clearly had the home field advantage there, but at the end it kind of looked like for the second week in a row that Minnesota may get screwed. 4th and 1 at the I mean it wasn't even the 1 yard line, the half-yard line. You got 2 feet to score a touchdown maybe, and PJ Flex says, I don't want to kick the field goal. We're running the QB sneak again. And they get it. But I
They
was
didn't
sitting
give
on
it
my
to him at first.
I was sitting on my couch going, how could you possibly not see that that was a touchdown? Like, how can you not rule that a touchdown
This
on the field? The guy
entire,
is
like,
all the way in the end zone.
yes. Yeah, that was wild.
I I don't know why that had to go to review, but it did. And eventually they got the call right. If they wouldn't have, I'm not sure what PJ Fleck would have done.
Yeah.
I That man was he was fired up, but I loved the decision. I saw some people that were like, "Why don't you just kick the field goal there?" And I think it's probably like a twofold answer, like analytics and then attitude. Man, I love that
Yeah.
he went for it, and I guarantee you his players did too.
Yeah, I get both sides of it. I was asking the question myself. You've got to go play defense anyways. Um, Now, in college football, like what, there was like just under a minute, 55-ish seconds left on the clock. I don't think USC had any timeouts left, right? Didn't they burn them all?
Yeah,
So that's still a lifetime in college football to get into field goal range. So if you're there, you're on the one, it's it's probably the best call, but I don't think it's by much actually. But if you can get it and you trust your guys, and which is not easy because they just got stuffed on the play before from it. So no, that's a big time call though. You got to go win those type of games. Like if you lay back and hope that the other team loses it, that's sometimes you're asking for trouble.
I thought it was as simple as, "Hey, we're at home. We got to get 2 feet. Let's go."
Yep.
Now maybe there is some math to back up the decision, like the probability of them winning the game in regulation if they went for it in that moment. I'm sure it's greater than kicking the field goal right there. At least that's my assumption. But I loved the decision. It ends up working out for him when momentarily it looked like it did not. But ultimately, I think Minnesota's defense deserves a lot of credit.
Yeah.
I USC's offense didn't have a single pass play over 20 yards. Zachariah Branch, who is, I think, one of the most exciting players in the country, had 3 catches for 10 yards.
Mm.
And Miller Moss, he struggled against that Minnesota defense. And he is a guy that, looked pretty sharp up to this point. And Minnesota affected to him, got him. He made some mistakes with the football. I thought that Golden Gophers defense was the difference in the football game.
Yeah, they played really well. Did a good job limiting all the explosive plays and turned them over a couple of times. The thing that I really loved is that running back number one from Minnesota is physical, man. He was running through like tackle after tackle, mowing people down, 25 carries for 144 yards. It was also cool seeing Marcus Major get some carries in that football game. Looked pretty good doing it. But you're right, that defense for Minnesota. I mean, say what you want about USC, but Lincoln Riley's offense typically finds a way to generate some big plays, put some points up, force people into more of a shootout style of a game, and they just couldn't get it done. What they scored 10 in the first half, and that it was tied at 10, but you never really had the feeling that USC was going to break out.
Darius Taylor number one, the running back from Minnesota. He kind of just looked like the best player on the field during the game.
Yeah, I
He was
agree.
running it. He was catching it out of the backfield. He was just making things happen. I love Minnesota's outside zone stuff. So fun for me to watch. Just so satisfying for me to watch. But a great win for Minnesota. And now you look at USC, it's a 3-2 football team. They've got two Big Ten losses already to Michigan and Minnesota.
They got Penn State this week.
I and that loss to Michigan after Michigan went and lost to Washington. I don't think it's looking nearly as good as it did before this week. So just it's it's a great reminder of how quickly things can change in college football. After USC won that opener against LSU, it felt like there was all kinds of positivity and momentum around that program, and it has all vanished.
Yeah.
It's gone. It I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what the rest of the season looks like for the Trojans.
Yeah, like based off of how Minnesota played them and kind of Penn State style, you got to feel like that game is going to be very difficult to win, even though it is at home. And then they still got to go to what they got Rutgers, which is not an easy game. They're much better than they've been at Washington, Nebraska, like Notre Dame to end it. Like they don't, other than Penn State, no one is really like super scary, but they're all pretty much equal programs to where USC is right now. So you feel like they're all going to be kind of toss ups.
We'll see. See how it goes. Birthday shout outs. Happy fifth birthday to Michael Elliott.
Happy eighth birthday to William Asher Hutchison.
Happy 14th birthday to Charlotte Palazzolo.
Happy 20.
Palazzolo. Pal- Palazzolo. Palazzolo.
I think it's Palazzolo. I think you had it
Palazzolo.
first.
I think,
Yeah.
yeah. First one, right one? Okay. Happy
Yeah.
birthday, Charlotte.
Happy 21st birthday to Gavin Heiberger.
Happy 42nd birthday to Kyle Molina.
Happy 50th birthday to Tina Ripple.
And happy 69th
Nice.
birthday to Sooner Judy. Happy birthday, Sooner Judy. On that note, episode 463 in the books. We'll have a new podcast that'll drop on Wednesday. So you Texas week, baby. Let's go. Please subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Hope you all have a great start to your week. And until next time, we appreciate y'all for listening. Do what you always do, Oklahoma. Take care of each other.